Dominic, what are you guys doing there at Khan Labs?
Yeah, so you probably all know Khan Academy. Khan Academy has like 50 million users online, was founded by Sal Khan, and they're operating in like 130 countries worldwide. And also then he founded Khan Lab School in 2014, really with the ambitions of challenging all the school artifacts in the US and really reimagining education, right? And when you look at the outcome, what we're expecting when a student is leaving our school has at the moment kindergarten up to 9th grade, and soon we're building the full scope out to 12th grade as well. When we look at the 3 pillars, so the first pillar is actually the content which is personalized and self-paced, so they're guiding themselves through the entire curriculum with like digital like online learning tools. The second pillar is actually even way more important, it's the independence. So we're disconnecting the academics from their grade levels. So we have actually a 2nd grader who may do like middle school math, but he still remains in 2nd grade. We don't call this grade levels, we call this independence levels. Okay. And the independence levels are based on criteria such as like self-management, time management, collaboration, motivation, and focus. So, and it's all student driven. So a student should come up with, now I want to go up to the next level, I'm ready, and then he can be a part of the challenge. It's not like that they're moving automatically up. But the great thing is when they're really bright, they're really intelligent, and they want to move forward quickly in the math, in the science, they can do that. And the last pillar is actually the project-based learning. So, as you know, it makes no sense just to memorize content. We need to really apply content in context to make it meaningful, to connect it to real-life issues. And that's what we're all about. In the afternoon, our students, it's pretty amazing, they're working for 2 hours at least on project-based learning every day. And because we have actually time, because our students during the independence time, in elementary, they're working 25% of their time, they're working alone, independently, and they know how to learn, they self-study, etc. In a high school that we're building right now, we give them up to 65% of their time, they're working on their own. So that gives us ample time then to do real application. We even thinking about to adding in high school internship, apprenticeships.
So what seems really common across what the 3 of you is doing is around this personalized learning approach, in so much as traditional school models, they have a set system that you go through in the timeline they give you, and you better get on board with it. But actually, what we're hearing here is that people learn in different ways. How important is personalization in education?
Personalization is a natural consequence of the way we basically work. So, to the extent that our children are not directed by an adult who would, try to put them in the way of something they need to learn because he perceives the adult, that the child should, follow a way and not another. Basically, we have children that are totally able to self-orient their learning, and that means that basically our community works as a gathering of people that help each other in basically facing the issues that are entailed by the learning. So basically you have a child that is trying to learn Finnish, for example, so maybe he's gonna start making some research on the internet and maybe in some books, and eventually he's gonna need some help from adults who work as facilitators and not as teachers to basically maybe get in touch with someone who speaks Finnish, for example, or I don't know, because basically as my colleagues here just said, everyone has his own way of learning. You have people that basically need help from teachers, you have people that can learn by themselves through the internet and books, etc. So we basically don't rank the ways of learning from the most desirable one to the less one. So basically, if you need teachers, if you need help, if you need formal learning, we can help do this. But if you want to, just learn by yourself, you can also do this. And if you need help among the community, and not only adults, even children can work as teachers, you can have it as well. So basically the fact is that we're trying to promote the interactions between children and the environment they basically live in, so that they can foster their interest, their imagination, and eventually find what is going to be their passion, and eventually maybe their job.
I like to put that also in perspective. A little bit personalization, it's kind of like a terminology widely used as well. And I think personalization happens at our school predominantly on content because it's self-paced, etc. But I think we have also responsibility for our students in for example, in mixed age learning and in helping others, being responsible for others as well. If everything would be personalized, then we have isolated students, right? And that's the reason why we're focusing during the project-based learning on the character strengths and cognitive skills very much. So that's the teamwork skills, negotiation skills, the critical thinking skills as well, which you cannot just learn in an isolated, personalized learning way, right? And I think that's really important. So it depends really in our school on at which stage of the independence level they are, right? And as I said previously, in high school they have a lot of like independence time. We call it actually ownership time, so we trust them during this ownership time. But they still have to have a social impact. They still have to be responsible for certain things, even though their schedule might be totally personalized, only like 30% at school at this time. I want to be really sensitive about this topic of personalization, even talk to my team about it. It's not only the student who changed from a consumer to be more a creator, but also my leadership team, my team, my teacher team, they have to change their roles as well. And they cannot be all personalized as well, so because they would have the same kind of like demand as well. So I think that's really important to put that out.
And it's looking at what that personalisation really means. And Dominic, you touched on something quite important there around soft skills. How are you finding that? How are you managing to integrate that, given that that's more important nowadays in the way that working environments work? It's not quite as structured. You're having to be able to integrate work, collaborate now in the global economy. Right. Those skill sets are now equally as valuable as some of the traditional sort of can you do maths and can you read type skills. How are you integrating that at CAM Labs?
Well, I think we have a big responsibility there as well. I see we're in a Google building in Silicon Valley, right, our school, and every day I see kind of the self-driving cars driving by, and the kids are in the playground, so it's kind of like in the back, the self-driving car in front of the kids. Uber has been built within a couple of years, right? So, but who knows, maybe it's going to be replaced by the self-driving cars. So when I see those kids with the self-driving cars, I'm asking myself, what is the next? We don't know which job's going to be created in the future. And we know that a lot's going to be displaced by the robotics, but also a lot's going to be created, so we don't know that, right? So, and the question is, like in the US, is so much about content memorization and just focusing on testing and benchmarks, which makes absolutely no sense because after these tests, they will forget their content anyway, right? I think it's still needed to do certain benchmark, but I think the skills are the most important part of it because we know which skills they need in the future, right? And coming back to your question, I think where we're seeing that most is, I can give you an example. After 7 weeks, our students have to present their project. For example, presenting in different modes in front of a different audience. For example, we did that the last time. They had to present their kind of like inventions of different Olympic villages, and it was amazing what they presented. But at the end, we selected one, and that group was not prepared for these questions. So we had a panel, Sal, I, and 2 others were on a panel. And then in front of like 300 parents, they had to present, and again, so we asked them critical questions of what is about sustainability in your villages, about Olympics, right? What do you do with your food waste, e-waste? And so they had to give answers to those things. So we put them up into a real life context, in an unfamiliar context. And I think those skills we need to hone at schools. And I think the schools are not able to do that because they're focusing just going from classroom to classroom or just focusing on memorizing this content, which is useless to a certain point, right? When I go back to when I was school, I just memorized like all states of the different countries, which I don't remember anything today. Today I can just ask Siri about it, right? So, but we're more meaningful if I would talk about concepts such as relationship, identity, and all these things. And that's what we try to infuse, and as I said earlier, negotiation skills. Sometimes they have to pitch their projects as well. Mm-hmm. So that's the project I want to do. Would you like to participate? It's like a pitching for startups, so we let them pitch as well. So I think that those skills have to be really like be honed and empathy skills in schools.